Knowing where you came from, knowing who you are and knowing where you're going.
A set of very positive values which you can transmit to the next generation.
It's about knowing where I come from, knowing where I sit in my world.
It's the cultural traditions, I suppose, and knowing that my family is special because we're Jewish.
You got one? Yeah. Sorry, that's yours. Shall I start? Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam borei pri hagafen. I'll do the next bit in English.
For all of us.
For the whole 26 of us.
That's very nice of you.
Good on you, Phil.
When it comes back, we'll do karpas.
Alright, so that's the green vegetable.
Okay, cool.
No. Is that okay? Do you want
We want to start
About half.
What?
documentary and I'm
Okay.
To be a Jew is a blessing and a burden. A blessing because we have a huge history and we carry on with the tradition. And the burden because no matter where we get together in the evening with friends, we always finish up with the Holocaust. You can make the slightest remark and we are back in Auschwitz or whatever those places because the people who survived can't get rid of the memory, it sits on their mind. So that's how we live.
And the collective memory of anti-Semitism and persecution is still quite strong in a lot of people, I think, especially in the generation above us. And I think like they're the leaders of the community and they're scared that, you know, there's a lot of mistrust about different parts of the Australian society and stuff like that, and they think they need to be insular to remain strong. In a lot of ways they do remain strong because they're so insular.
I do think that if we observe everything very, very carefully, we do stay a fairly insular community. It's not to say that we're entirely insular, but it can make you an enclosed community.
I think that the idea of being a tight-knit community often is portrayed negatively to people outside of that community, and yeah, I just think that people who aren't in it are scared of it and don't really understand what it's all about.
We tend to get a bit misunderstood by the outside community. Unless people learn a lot about us, they think we're peculiar. They might be right.
There is an aspect to the community that's insular, but this community is so broad. You know, there are groups for gay Jewish people, there are groups for environmentalists, there like Jewish groups for environmentalists, there are groups that support the right-wing governments in Israel, there are groups that, as I said before, hate Israel, there are groups that want, you know, everyone to move back to Poland and live in, you know, small communities back there. We have, I think the community in Melbourne has 3 or 4 libraries just in the Jewish community. There are so many different organisations that I think it's really diverse. It's a really diverse community.
There's a stigma that's probably unfair within the whole community that it's wrong to speak out against Israel, and I think there's like a big lack of debate in the community about what it means to be a Jew kind of thing. There's a lot of people take authority over the religion and authority over the ideology of being a Jew in Melbourne, and Skiff is very much against what that kind of a view is of what a Jewish Australian should be.
I love that. This one's my favourite one.
That's my favourite one as well.
Skiff is a socialist Jewish youth group that was founded in Eastern Europe. The ideologies of Skiff include an idea that we should build strong Jewish communities where we live and make the world around us a better place, whereas the other youth movements all consider themselves Zionist, and a lot of their energy is put towards supporting Israel.
For me, Zionism is a recognition of Israel, a recognition that Israel should exist in the land of Israel. I guess a love for the country and its culture and its music and its food and its and its people. And yeah, I mean that's for me, that's the baseline of what Zionism is.
It's hard to be accepted by a community that is so strongly Zionist that anything that deviates from that is seen as foreign.
The tension is not just perceived. It's ideological. It's conceptual. I mean, the difference is of the Sikh Zionist movement taking on such a they think it's so important to advocate for Israel, and SCIF don't see that so important. It's actually in reality quite a big deal.
SCIF doesn't hate Israel, but it's the perception that is spread among the Jewish community. So therefore, you shouldn't get involved with us or be in discussions with us. I think it's really important to the Jewish community that that all these youth groups exist, even though the ideologies of all of them are quite different. It's a really good place for kids to express their Jewish identity and learn more about it.
That's my grandfather.
Really?
My mother's father. She was religious with a hat and a beard.
Yeah.
My grandmother had a wig, kept a kosher home. You wouldn't think so looking at me now, would you?
Living in Australia in 2010, it's very easy to be a secular Jew, to identify with the religion and the culture, and to understand what being Jewish is without having to be religious.
But that's completely misunderstood. I mean, that understanding is personally my understanding of what a secular Jew is, and what Hushy's understanding of it, and SCIF's understanding of a secular Jew is. But it's very different to what our community and what society sees as secular. For them, secular means atheist, to disregard being Jewish altogether, and to be a secular Jew means to just not give a shit about being Jewish. Yeah, they have Shabbat, but they don't do anything on Shabbat. They have Shabbat because their parents tell them to do Shabbat. That's what is generally considered to be a secular Jew.
But Judaism is very complex in that you can be a good Jew and you can consider yourself Jewish without having to subscribe to some sort of religious movement.
Secularism is actually quite a huge responsibility because you can't disregard that Judaism historically has been focused on God. So then to say that you are a Jewish person who doesn't believe in God, or who questions God, or his focus is not on God, is quite a big thing.
My grandson says he doesn't believe in God, and my little granddaughter Liana, she starts discussions about God. What is God? What does he do for you? And all that kind, when I pick her up from school. But it's very difficult to answer, because there's actually no answer. I don't know who is God. Whether it's a boy or a girl or just an idea, but I'm a traditional person. I believe in my tribe.
Okay, so Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam asher kiddushanu b'mitzvotav v'tzivanu al ba'ur chametz.
Amen. Amen.
I think the tradition is important, because if you are not a religious person, what else do you hang on but tradition? I mean, if you move from one country and from one language to another, the tradition is the only one that sort of makes sense and keeps you normal, keeps you bonding with other people.
And if you don't honour the past, you don't know what the future is going to hold, because you haven't got anything to carry forward.